Hello again, Andy with Handy Andy Handyman, Handy Andy on Demand, and we're at a gorgeous home up in Woodstock, kind of doing a exterior inspection for the owner. Brought us up for some repairs. It's hard to see on this far left side, the upper corner. The boys will have to check it out. We see the streaking on the brick right there. It leads me to believe water's getting behind the gutter and the fascia right there, so they need to check it. On every one of these gutters, they're all leaking on the corners. And it's gonna be hard to see it in this particular light, but you can probably expand this on the computer. But in this corner right here, you'll see there's 2 or 3 screws and rivets in the bottom holding this gutter together, and they were never sealed well. When you have this on your house, it really should have been a separate corner piece, but we're not gonna go the expense of replacing that. It's just not worth it. But what you need to have us do is come in every 5 years and seal that inside corner, clean it, seal it with a nice elastomeric, and you'll have to repeat that process every 5 years. The other problem that we have with homes like this is they almost always are set up with underground drains. So you see where that gutter right there and this gutter right here are set into a drain, which is great. But when people come out to clean your gutters, they have to pull these things out and run a high pressure nozzle down to clear the drains. You should do it every year, but if you don't want to go the expense, every other year, because if you don't, you're going to wind up with problems like here. So if you see this left corner here, the gutter's not draining properly, and that combined with that corner not being sealed properly has rotted that fascia board. That's what the gutter sits against. So that one's rotted right there. This one is rotted right here. This one's more obvious. But this whole stuff is the stitch in time saves 9. You see how rotted and wrinkled that piece right there is. If you look above the line of the front porch here, you'll see that gable right there, that kind of diagonal piece coming above that gutter in the corner. That's rotted. You see the lines coming off the bottom of it. If I step back, you can see it a little bit better. Apologize for the lighting. It's not sure if it's going to rain out here today or not. But that fascia is rotted, and so we'll need to fix that as well. He's got the same issue on this right corner over here. When you get up in here and you look behind this gutter right up in here, right there, you'll see the rot right up in there. This will just seal it for now. This is structural. It's just the house is settled a little bit. That's all that is. When you catch this corner right here, this piece has been repaired before at the back of the garage, and because they didn't back prime and seal all 6 faces of the wood and they didn't seal the gutter, it rotted again right there. So that's already been repaired once. So the guys will clean the gutters, they'll check them for drainage, they'll repair these few pieces of rotted wood. It's hard to believe we've been doing this for 30 years, almost 30 years in Atlanta now. And it makes us mad because customers like this fellow will pay someone to make this kind of a repair right here, and you can see it's already rotted again. And part of it is because they only made a straight cut across, a horizontal cut instead of an angled weather cut, and then it back prime and seal the replacement piece, so it rotted again. And you can connect the dots. It rotted on this side too, on the right garage. And it's all from this gutter right here. So when you see this kind of streaking at the bottom edge of the gutter, it lets you know that it's not draining properly, and your source is a combination of this downspout is clogged, so the water's backing up in heavy rains. With the roof of this pitch, you know, you got a 10-12 pitch on this thing, so you're going to expect to see some of this, but what you shouldn't see is water draining between the gutter and the fascia board, and that'll let you know that drain is clogged right there. He's got another piece right over here that I think he had somebody else trying to fix it, but they've actually, if you look closely, they sealed the outside of the gutter. Well, it's the inside of the gutter that conducts water, so why would you do that? And if you look closely, you sit here long enough, you'll see it's still dripping out of it. So we'll repair that fascia board. But the key on repairs like that is to make sure that they're using wood that's primed and sealed on every edge. And if they do that, it'll never rot out again. When we do those repairs, we have a lifetime warranty on those types of repairs that it'll transfer to a new buyer, and we'll come back out if we didn't catch it, because it should never rot out again. Now, the only caveat on that is on corners of gutters, if you're not resealing them every 5 years, it is going to rot. It'll eventually seep into the wood and cause rot. The rest of this house is in pretty good shape. Out here, he's got this gorgeous travertine that was done, and travertine is just a booger to keep clean. So you've got to pressure wash and clean this stuff annually to keep it up. Up here, a lot of contractors would suggest, you can see how the stones have settled. You got a lot of runoff coming through off the roof line, the house, off the driveway. And so a lot of contractors would suggest that he pack this with concrete. The problem with that is it'll last maybe a little bit longer, but it's not worth the expense because water's going to catch against this retaining wall and it's going to erode underneath the concrete anyway. You're better to just pack this every few years with sand and level it up again and let it drain through. So the guys will pull about a 4-foot section, roughly 3 feet from the back of this retaining wall right here, and they'll relay these stones on hand tamped sand, and then we'll fill this edge as well with sand. My one concern with this is at some point in time they had a weep system back here for this retaining wall to drain, and you can see these pipes right down here, these PVC pipes, they filled them with concrete and I'm not sure why. I would want to open, there's probably 3, yeah, there's another one back in that corner. I'd want to open these 3 right here and just see, because any water that seeps and gets against this retaining wall, it needs to get out, or it's going to erode things. And you can kind of see where the center of this wall has actually settled somewhere right around in here and cracked the stone. You know, all these things require maintenance. So we'll clean up the travertine decking around the pool area. We'll fill this inside. Here's that crack I was talking about right here. There's nothing we can do about that. It's a settlement crack. But through here, we'll fill this crack through here with sand as well. Out in this area, he's wanted to replace some of these stones. We'll go ahead and replace this one right here at the little bar area because they're hitting it with their chair and they'll teeter over. So we can go ahead and replace that one. Most of the rest of these, I wouldn't replace anything until you clean it up and see what you've got here. Some of these stones can be filled with epoxy, which is what they've done in here, and go ahead and save them. Travertine's a porous stone, so you put it in an exterior setting like this, you're either going to have to seal it every year, or you're just going to have gradual breakdown of the stone. And you can see some of these in here, they've been filling it over time. And it looks okay. I mean, it blends in as long as you keep it clean. This was a fill right here that someone did, and I would suggest doing this once this travertine is cleaned up, whether we do it or someone else does it. Then I would assess what stones you want to replace or don't want to replace. Some of these, like these little corners right in here that are open, we can go ahead and fill those with sand and you really won't notice them. It's a cloudy day today, so this is obvious and it's really dirty. Once it's cleaned up, you won't notice. This crack through here at the bottom of the coping, this radius paver back here, we'll go ahead and fill the inside edge with sand. The back side, I would just leave it and I wouldn't fill any of these radius stones at all. I'd go ahead and replace, I think it's this one, that somebody cracked, and there might be another one right here, just because someone's going to walk off the edge of this pool and you can see it's moving when I step on it. So those are just a safety issue. But the rest of the outside edge I'd leave open, but just the back of the radius I would seal. The rest of this stuff will clean up. Some of it I can't tell you what's causing. Some of it's mold and mildew. This area, the homeowner says it gets a lot of sun. I can't tell today, but some of this could be minerals seeping out of the stone. Some of it could just be old sealers and whatever treatments they've used to fill some of this stuff. You can see like someone's repaired this piece at one point in time as well. So once we get it all cleaned up, then we can assess whatever else he wants to replace down here. The cool thing about our business is we do everything. Handy Andy's done this stuff for years. Excuse me. On the back side of this retaining wall right here, we'll seal that inside edge with sand. We'll come on this side right here and do the same thing. And all we're trying to do is keep water from getting in here and push it onto the pool deck. He's got a nice slope away from the pool. He's got a saltwater pool here, so we're not trying to get any runoff headed towards the pool. And I think that may be why they sealed those drains on that retaining wall over there. We can also give him a price to come back and clean up this wrought iron fencing all the way around. It needs to be cleaned and repainted. Some of it's starting to rust through. So the cool thing about Handy Andy is it's a relationship. You just have to be patient with us sometimes. We just get slammed. I'm not just a salesperson. I work with my guys. We're running all over the place. In these areas, I'd go ahead and fill these as well. I'd fill this bottom edge in front of the steps as well, right through here, and the backside right here. You can see more of the pitch right here. When you look at this angle, see how much settlement? The challenge we have in here is whoever did the drain system, they set these drains in concrete, so we're actually gonna have to break the drain free, break the concrete out of there, and repack these 3 drains with sand. And problem solved. He's got a little bit of staining up here that may or may not clean out. We're gonna have to do some research and see what we can use to clean there. He just had these steps redone by somebody else. Some of that work's just a little sloppy, but I would fill some of these gaps around in here with sand. just to keep the moisture out. And then down here along this edge, you can see how much it's settled right through here. Same process. We're going to pull about 3-4 feet back out and level and slope towards the wall and just give it a nice finish. So that's what we have going on this project. We pretty much do everything from little handyman stuff. In fact, we've got a new division that started up last year called On Demand, where you can call us to hang, you know, a picture or change a faucet, all that little honeydew stuff that nobody gets to, including us. We get so much of it and turn so many people down that we started a division to do just that. You can call us and schedule for 2 hours, and the guys will come out prepared to do something for you, and then we go from there. But you can reach us at 770-912-2829 in the office, or you can catch me personally sometimes at 770-265-9017. I'm Andy. See you at the next house. Bye for now.